Everyone wants to jump on apple cider vinegar as the best fat loss vinegar. And I get it, like it's the most common, it's probably the most buzzy, but we also need to look at what other components are in vinegar. You see, most of the health effects or the fat loss benefits simply come from the acetic acid. And realistically, when you look at all different kinds of vinegars, whether it's apple cider vinegar, red wine vinegar, white vinegar, rice vinegar, balsamic vinegar, they're all so eerily similar when it comes down to acetic acid. We need to look outside of just that. Now, don't get me wrong. Okay, the acetic acid is probably the most potent effect that you're getting out of your vinegar. Okay, you're getting an activation of AMPK, which may or may not put you into a little bit more of a caloric deficit. It may trigger that switch, right? I shouldn't say like a literal caloric deficit. It's just flipping you slightly towards that scale of being in a deficit as far as like cellular machinery is concerned by activating what's called AMPK. Additionally, the acidity is what helps modulate glucose a little bit more by slowing down carbohydrate digestion. But realistically, in order to be classified as a vinegar, it needs to be a minimum of 4% acidity anyway. And if you look at like white vinegars, they're anywhere from 4 to 7% acetic acid. And if you look at other categories of vinegars, they're anywhere from 5 to 8% realistically. So you're looking all within the same respective acetic acid acidity range anyway. So what makes other vinegars different? Well, it's a very big thing because when you ferment vinegar, you have other compounds that flourish. You have certain vitamins, you have minerals, you have antioxidants, you have all kinds of organic acids, and most importantly, you have polyphenols. And polyphenols are technically a fiber, realistically. They help flourish in your gut, but they also have powerful impacts when it comes down to fat loss, as we've seen in other literature. So let's break them down a little bit more. There's a study that was published in the Journal of Agriculture and Food Chemistry that did find one thing as a clear differentiator though. They took a look at 83 different types of vinegars. And they found that although the sources made a big difference as far as differentiation, an 88% differentiation, so different sources definitely had an impact. But whether vinegar was aged in wood or not made a 100% difference. That's how powerful that is. So no matter what vinegar you choose, whether it's grain or fruit or whatever, look for one that is aged properly in wood, like a wood barrel, the way it's supposed to be aged. Evidently, that makes a huge difference. Now let's first jump to the antioxidant profile. Which vinegar has the highest antioxidant profile? Well, there was a study that was published in the journal Antioxidants itself that found that red grape balsamic vinegar had the highest antioxidant effect, which makes sense, right? Red grapes are usually pretty high in antioxidants to begin with. You've got possibly some chlorogenic acid, you've got resveratrol. Okay, so you've got that working for you, possibly even some anthocyanins depending on the type of grape. And then you ferment it down and yeah, balsamic's pretty dark and dense. So a lot of antioxidants, but that doesn't necessarily mean it's the most powerful. So let's look deeper. The Journal of Functional Foods published a study looking at the polyphenol content of vinegar. Now, polyphenols, these are phenolic compounds that have an impact at a cellular level, okay, across many different categories. And they're quite profound. I talk about them in fruits, I talk about them in veggies, supplements, whatever. Polyphenols are heavily researched. And this study, point blank, suggested that fruit vinegars have significantly higher polyphenols than grain vinegars. That makes a lot of sense, right? No surprise. Like fruits are gonna have a heck of a lot more polyphenols than a bowl of rice. But still, it's interesting. So we can kind of throw some of the grain vinegars just out. At this point, they're not really getting us the nutritional complexity and diversity that we're after with a vinegar. Additionally, they're much higher in polyphenols that are recognizable for fat loss benefits. So in this case, we're talking about epicatechin, we're talking about gallic acid, we're talking about chlorogenic acid, just to name a few of them. Like these have been correlated with fat loss in other literature. And if you need a little help understanding how polyphenols can influence fat loss, we can look specifically at catechins and epicatechins. So like for example, in green tea, EGCG, epicalocatechin 3 gallate. That's a huge one associated with fat loss. But let's just look at catechins in general and a study on catechins as it relates to weight loss. So this study was published in the American Journal of Clinical Nutrition. It looked at oolong tea, 690 milligrams of epicatechin compared to oolong tea with 22 milligrams. Okay, and they gave this to subjects 1 drink per day for 12 weeks. They found the group that had the higher dose of epicatechin had lower body weight, lower BMI, lower fat mass, and lower waist. So they had overall just shrunk. They lost body fat and their waist shrunk. Now, if you look at a study that was published in Medical Principles and Practice, this helps us understand what might be going on. Okay, because polyphenols are such powerful free radical neutralizers, if you're reducing oxidative stress, you're potentially reducing the inflammation that's associated with it, thereby potentially reducing the insulin resistance that's associated with it, thereby allowing lipolysis to occur better and allowing fat loss to occur in a more seamless fashion. Although that sounds like a leap, in a big scale of someone that's very unhealthy, polyphenols make a huge difference. That's why fruits and vegetables are generally good for you. It's not just the fiber, it's the polyphenol content. So we want to be looking in general for vinegars that are from fruit that have a high polyphenol content, which I'm going to help you understand exactly which ones are good for that in just a second. I also put a link down below for today's video sponsor, which is Thrive Market. And I put a link there because they have a bunch of different vinegars if you want to check them out. They have all kinds of different red wine vinegars, they have apple cider vinegars, they have cranberry cider vinegars, they have a plethora of different vinegars. So you can either A, just get creative and have some fun with it, or B, take some knowledge from this video and get one that works for you. So that link down below saves you 30% off your entire grocery order through Thrive Market. So whether you're ordering one bottle of vinegar or whether you're going in hog wild and doing your entire grocery shopping for a month through Thrive Market, you're gonna save 30% off, plus get a free $60 gift whenever you use my special link down below. Because they are a sponsor on this channel, this is a unique offer for those that watch my videos. So again, that link is down below in the top line of the description underneath this video. You don't just have to get vinegar. You can do your regular grocery shopping. It gets delivered to your doorstep. But since this is a vinegar video, you might as well check out the different vinegars they've got because they're pretty cool. So what vinegars have the highest catechin content? Let's go down the list of the ones that you should be opting for. Out of the common vinegars, red or black grape vinegars are going to be the best bet, with 5.46 milligrams of catechins per 100. Okay, so that's a very, very strong vinegar there. High acidity, high polyphenol content. Next up is going to be good old apple cider vinegar. So see, it's still pretty darn good, and it's not far behind. It's at 5 milligrams per 100. It's exactly what we're after, right? We want that nice sweet spot. Plus, apple cider vinegar is easy to come by. It's not as high in the antioxidants as the red and black grape vinegars, though. Next up, we go to green grapes at 1.2 per 100. That's what's interesting. That's the third highest in this particular common category, and it's 4 points lower, or 4 milligrams lower than the next best one. It shows how a darker fruit fermented is going to yield higher polyphenol counts. Then next we have pomegranate at 0.4. See how it drops quite aggressively? But now out of the ones that aren't as common, there's one called strawberry vinegar, which you can find, it's just not that common. That's a whopping 6.5 milligrams per 100. And if you want to get insanely creative, dark chocolate vinegar. They literally can make vinegar from dark chocolate. I actually have tried it before. It doesn't taste half bad. 20.5 milligrams per 100. Now, again, the acetic acid component of this is going to be about the same across the board. So if you're looking for glucose management effects, it really doesn't matter what vinegar you have. If you're looking for the acetyl coenzyme A effect, it doesn't matter. AMPK, it doesn't matter. But when you start getting into a vinegar that has a polyphenol effect, then you want to start paying attention. But we can't leave it there. What about minerals too? Well, again, when we look at grain vinegars, the only real vitamins you're getting out of grains are going to be B vitamins as far as the vinegars are concerned. So again, I just don't see a huge point in having like rice wine vinegar or white rice vinegar or any of those. It just doesn't make much sense. There's not much nutritional component to them. If you look at Andalusian red wine vinegar, which again comes from grapes, there's a whopping 21 minerals. Now that's a very specific kind of vinegar. So if you're looking for more trace minerals and like a mineralization effect within your body, then that Andalusian red wine vinegar makes a lot of sense. But again, it comes back down to the grape vinegars being the best for the minerals as well. It has to do with how much a vine sucks the minerals into it throughout harvesting or throughout growing. So that does actually reflect into the grape itself. And through the fermentation process, it seems to retain its effect. So at the end of the day, you want to look for wood-aged, you want to look for fruity vinegars, you want to go for the darker the vinegar as possible. That's going to make it much more antioxidant rich. Okay, you want to try to aim for like the red or the black grape vinegars whenever you can. And whenever possible, you want to look for one that is aged as long as possible. The longer the aging, the more the fermentation, the more the acidity, and the overall easier digestibility, and probably the better taste. So apple cider vinegar is still perfectly viable, but if you get your hands on a nice polyphenol rich vinegar, you're gonna get some nutritional value out of it as well that might help you with your goals. I'll see you tomorrow.